Imagine being 3 years old and crowned the ruler of the largest country on earth. Sounds glamorous, right? No, it's terrifying. At that age, you can barely walk straight, but Ivan was supposed to rule an empire. From the beginning, his life was full of chaos. His father died when he was young. His mother was killed by poison. His guardians were either murdered in the endless struggle for power, or they were secretly plotting against him behind closed doors. The men who should have cared for him, who should have guided and protected him, instead became traitors. He grew up in the Kremlin, not as a prince, but as a hostage surrounded by wolves. The boyars, the powerful noble families, treated him like dirt. They ran Russia while Ivan sat on the throne in name only, a boy with a crown but no real power in his hands. The nobles pulled the strings, made the laws, and decided the future of the land, while Ivan was left as nothing more than a symbol. They beat him, humiliated him, and ignored his authority. Imagine being king and still getting bullied at your own dinner table. Ivan didn't forget any of it. He carried those memories like sharp knives tucked deep inside, cutting at him with every thought. The betrayals, the deaths, the hunger, the humiliation. He remembered it all. He watched silently as the boyars killed each other for power. He saw cruelty up close. It didn't scare him. It taught him. Every drop of blood, every betrayal. He stored it all away, waiting for the day he could strike back. As a teenager, Ivan showed flashes of what was coming. He tortured animals for fun, pulling apart living things just to watch them suffer. The cruelty was not hidden. It was open and deliberate, a warning sign of the darkness growing inside him. He ordered executions as if he was trying on new clothes. Even as a boy, Ivan was twisted in ways few remember. He tested poisons on prisoners, set up spies among commoners to watch nobles, and commissioned detailed maps of Russia to plan control. Seizures fueled sudden fits of rage. By the time he was 17, he was ready. He crowned himself the very first Tsar of all Russia. Not king, not prince, Tsar. The word meant Caesar. The message was clear. I'm not just a ruler, I'm an emperor, someone above kings and princes, someone who demanded fear as much as loyalty. With every word and every act, he made sure people understood that he wasn't just another man with a crown. At first, people thought maybe Ivan would be great. He introduced reforms. He reorganized the military. He even built St. Basil's Cathedral, the colorful fairy tale church, still standing in Moscow today. For a while, Ivan looked like he might be the golden hope of Russia, the young leader who could rise above the blood and chaos of his childhood. He spoke of order, strength, and faith, and for a moment, people believed him. But golden hope never holds forever. It shines for a moment, then fades, slipping through people's hands like dust carried off by the wind. Ivan was paranoid, volatile, and hungry for control. Power didn't calm his demons, it supercharged them. And when his beloved wife Anastasia died suddenly, Ivan snapped. He was convinced the boyars had poisoned her. Whether they did or not didn't matter. He decided everyone was guilty. That's when the cruelty truly began. Ivan created the Oprichniki, his personal kingdom within Russia. He took land from nobles, split it off, and handed it to his black-clad henchmen, the Oprichniki. These guys weren't soldiers. They were killers on horseback, dressed in black, riding through the night with fear as their weapon. They didn't fight battles with honor or discipline. They spread terror. They wore black robes, carried whips, and rode with severed dog heads hanging from their saddles. Why dog heads? Ivan said they could sniff out treason, that no secret plot could hide from their eyes. These men were trained to sense fear, betrayal, and lies, turning whispers and glances into death sentences. It was psychological warfare. Everywhere they rode, people knew death followed. The Oprichniki burned towns to the ground. They tortured men with boiling water. They impaled women. They slaughtered children. Entire communities disappeared overnight. Ivan's death squad didn't just kill people, they erased them. His most infamous act came in Novgorod. The city was wealthy, proud, and independent. Ivan suspected treason, so he marched in with the Oprichniki and unleashed hell. For 5 long weeks, Novgorod was turned into a slaughterhouse, priests beaten to death in their own churches, families chained together and thrown into the frozen river, children smashed against walls, tens of thousands killed. An entire city was wiped from existence, its people scattered and its streets left in ruins, all because one man let his paranoia spiral into blind destruction. And yet, Ivan still wasn't satisfied. He turned on the nobility. He turned on advisors. He lashed out at anyone who so much as gave him a doubtful glance, treating the smallest sign of disrespect as if it were a deadly betrayal. If you wore fine clothes, had money, or whispered in private, you were probably a traitor. The punishment was always the same: death. This paranoia even reached his family. Ivan had a violent temper, and nobody was safe from it. One day, in a fit of rage, he struck his own son with an iron staff. The blow crushed his skull, his heir, his future, his blood, dead by his own father's hand. There's a famous painting of Ivan holding his dying son, horror written across his face. That was not a political killing. It was a personal tragedy. It was the moment history stopped seeing Ivan as a man and started seeing him as a monster. Killing his inheritor wasn't just tragic, it was catastrophic. Russia was left with no strong successor. When Ivan eventually died, the country collapsed into famine, rebellion, and foreign invasion. They called it the Time of Troubles, all sparked by one man's madness. So let's weigh the scales. On one hand, Ivan centralized power. He expanded Russia's borders. He created a state strong enough to survive centuries. On the other hand, he butchered his own people, destroyed his own cities, and left his empire in ruins. Some Russians still argue he was a great ruler. They point to the empire he built. But ask the families drowned in rivers. Ask the son he murdered with his own hands. Was he great, or was he simply terrifying? The truth is, Ivan's nickname Grozny in Russian doesn't even mean terrible the way we think of it. It means the formidable or the fearsome. He wanted to be remembered as a ruler so powerful that the earth shook when he walked. Well, he got his wish. Ivan the Terrible was less a king and more a living nightmare, a man who turned paranoia into policy, a father who killed his son, a ruler who thought fear was the best foundation for power. History remembers him not for winning battles, but for being cruel. He showed that total power doesn't just spoil a person, it breaks them. It grows worse, it turns into horror. Ivan is proof that one man's madness can scar an entire nation. So when you hear his name, don't think of fairy tale Russia with onion domes and snowflakes. Imagine dark riders wearing cloaks, carrying dog heads and frozen rivers filled with dead bodies. Think of a king who left behind an empire drenched in blood. That's Ivan the Terrible, born in 1530 and died in 1584 at the age of 54. The man who turned his country into his personal torture chamber. The Tsar who built an empire on fear and left only chaos behind. And if you thought Ivan was bad, trust me, history has even darker rulers waiting in the shadows. Kings who make Ivan look almost tame. Stick around and subscribe. Let's uncover them together. Because history isn't dead stories, it's real horror. And sometimes the monsters wear crowns. Thank you for watching.